When we talk about love stories, there's something uniquely powerful about those moments that seem ordinary at first glance but end up defining our journey together. Today, I want to share the story of Alex and Jamie, a couple whose wedding day captured not just a ceremony, but a pivotal moment that would frame their future together. In the LGBTQ+ community, weddings carry an additional layer of significance. They're not just celebrations of love, but also powerful statements of visibility, acceptance, and the right to build a life together openly and proudly. For many couples, these ceremonies represent the culmination of not only their personal love story, but also decades of struggle for equality and recognition. Alex and Jamie's story begins like many modern romances, at a friend's housewarming party neither of them particularly wanted to attend. Alex had just finished a grueling week at the architectural firm where they worked, while Jamie had agreed to make an appearance only because the host was a colleague at the nonprofit where Jamie coordinated community outreach programs. They both arrived planning to make a quick appearance and leave early. But sometimes life has other plans, doesn't it? Their eyes met across a crowded kitchen as they both reached for the last stuffed mushroom on a serving plate. "Please, take it," Jamie offered with a smile that Alex would later describe as lighting up the entire room. What followed was a 3-hour conversation on the host's balcony, oblivious to the party continuing inside. Discussing everything from their shared love of obscure documentary films to their experiences growing up queer in small towns before finding their way to the city. Their first official date happened the following weekend, a visit to a local art exhibition featuring LGBTQ+ artists that Jamie had helped organize. Alex was captivated not just by the artwork, but by Jamie's passion when explaining the stories behind each piece. "I remember thinking this person sees the world with such depth and compassion," Alex would later recall during their wedding vows. The relationship progressed with a natural ease that surprised them both. There were weekend hiking trips, cooking disasters in Alex's tiny apartment kitchen, and long conversations about their hopes and dreams. After 18 months together, during a surprise weekend getaway to the coastal town where Jamie had grown up, Alex proposed on a clifftop overlooking the ocean at sunset. The moment wasn't perfect. A sudden gust of wind nearly sent the ring box flying into the sea, but their laughter in that heart-stopping moment foreshadowed the joy that would characterize their relationship. Planning a wedding brought its own set of challenges. While both Alex and Jamie were fortunate to have supportive families, they encountered subtle forms of discrimination during their vendor search. Several venues mysteriously became booked after learning they were a same-sex couple. A florist awkwardly asked which one was the bride. These experiences, though disheartening, strengthened their resolve to create a celebration that authentically represented their love. They eventually found a historic art gallery with an inclusive staff who were genuinely excited to host their wedding. The space, with its exposed brick walls and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline, perfectly complemented their vision of an elegant but relaxed celebration. The search for the right photographer proved particularly important to them. "We wanted someone who would see us, really see us, not just as a same-sex couple, but as Alex and Jamie, with our own unique dynamic," Jamie explained. They interviewed several talented photographers before meeting Taylor, whose portfolio displayed a gift for capturing authentic moments across diverse couples. During their consultation, Taylor spoke about the importance of representation in wedding photography and shared their approach to documenting love stories without imposing heteronormative traditions. "I don't have a standard shot list I use for every couple," Taylor told them. "I want to understand what makes your relationship special and capture those unique dynamics." This philosophy resonated deeply with Alex and Jamie, who immediately knew they had found their photographer. As the wedding day approached, the usual pre-wedding jitters set in. The night before, Alex and Jamie stayed in separate hotel rooms, not out of tradition, but to give themselves space to process the significance of the step they were taking. They exchanged handwritten letters, delivered by their best friends, expressing their love and excitement for the journey ahead. Jamie's letter made Alex cry. Alex's letter made Jamie laugh out loud at a private joke they'd shared since their early dating days. These reactions perfectly encapsulated their relationship, depth of feeling balanced with lighthearted joy. The morning of the wedding arrived with unexpected calmness. Alex's parents arrived early, bringing breakfast and steady, quiet support as Alex prepared. Across town, Jamie was surrounded by a chaotic but loving group of friends, music playing as everyone got ready together. Taylor and a second photographer moved between both locations, documenting these preparations, the nervous adjustments of cufflinks, the tearful hug from Jamie's mother, the moment Alex paused to read Jamie's letter one more time before leaving for the venue. These quiet, intimate moments would later provide some of their most treasured images. At the gallery, guests gathered in a space transformed by simple but elegant decorations, greenery and white flowers adorning the brick walls, candles creating a warm glow as dusk approached. Instead of a traditional aisle arrangement, they had created a circular seating area, symbolizing the community of support surrounding their union. Alex arrived first, greeting guests and trying to calm increasingly frayed nerves. When Jamie entered, accompanied by both parents, the room fell silent for a moment before erupting in applause. Alex would later say that time seemed to stop in that moment, seeing Jamie walk toward their shared future, smiling through tears. The ceremony itself was deeply personal. They had asked their closest friends to share readings that reflected their journey, poems about finding home in another person, passages about choosing love every day. Their vows, written separately but remarkably complementary, spoke of growth, partnership, and building a life of purpose together. Jamie promised to always see the best in Alex, even on difficult days. Alex vowed to be Jamie's biggest advocate and most honest critic. There wasn't a dry eye in the house when they exchanged rings, simple bands that had been designed by a friend who was a jewelry artist, incorporating elements that symbolized their journey together. Throughout the ceremony and the celebration that followed, Taylor moved almost invisibly among the guests, capturing moments both grand and subtle. The formal portraits were beautiful, of course, the newlyweds against the dramatic backdrop of the gallery's architecture, family groupings that represented the blending of their lives. But it was the candid shots that would ultimately tell the most compelling story of the day. Taylor had a gift for anticipating moments before they happened, positioning perfectly to capture authentic emotions as they unfolded. The reception was in full swing. Dinner had been served, toasts had been given, including a surprisingly emotional speech from Alex's usually stoic father that had everyone reaching for napkins to dab away tears, and dancing had begun. Alex and Jamie had just finished their first dance to a song that had special meaning from early in their relationship. As they moved to the edge of the dance floor, still holding hands, Jamie's cousin approached with champagne flutes. What happened next became the moment that would define not just their wedding album, but in many ways, their approach to life together. The cousin, attempting to make a heartfelt toast, stumbled over words and accidentally referenced an embarrassing childhood story about Jamie that wasn't exactly reception appropriate. There was a brief, awkward pause as guests weren't sure how to react, and then Jamie burst into genuine, unrestrained laughter. Alex joined in immediately, the kind of full-body laugh that comes from a place of complete comfort and joy. It was a moment of pure, unscripted delight, Jamie leaning slightly into Alex, both of them completely abandoned to the moment, surrounded by the people they loved most. Taylor, positioned perfectly across the room, captured the exact instant, the way they leaned into each other, eyes crinkled with joy, completely unself-conscious. The light from the setting sun through the gallery windows created a golden glow around them, as if illuminating not just the couple but the bubble of happiness they created together. In the background, slightly blurred but still visible, their guests watched with expressions ranging from confusion to amusement to tenderness. It was a photograph that captured not just how they looked on their wedding day, but who they were together, finding joy even in awkward moments, supporting each other through laughter. The rest of the evening continued with the usual wedding festivities. Cake cutting, more dancing, quiet conversations between guests who hadn't seen each other in years. Alex and Jamie moved through it all in a happy daze, occasionally catching each other's eyes across the room with looks that said, "Can you believe this is really happening?" As the night wound down, they thanked Taylor, who promised to have a preview of images within a few weeks. Neither of them could have anticipated how significant one particular photograph would become. 3 weeks after returning from their honeymoon, a tour of small coastal towns, combining Jamie's love of the ocean with Alex's interest in local architecture, they received the email from Taylor with a link to their wedding gallery. They waited until evening, opening a bottle of wine they'd brought back from their trip, and settled on their couch to view the images together. There were hundreds of beautiful photographs, the emotional ceremony, the joyful celebration, quiet moments they hadn't even realized Taylor had captured. But about halfway through, they both gasped at the same image, that moment of unrestrained laughter after the cousin's toast. "That's us," Jamie said quietly. "That's really us." The photograph showed them exactly as they hoped to move through life together, finding joy even in imperfect moments, supporting each other through whatever came their way. Alex immediately knew this image needed to be more than just another wedding photo in an album. The next day, they ordered a large print, and when it arrived, they hung it in their living room, the first thing visitors would see when entering their home. Over the months and years that followed, that photograph took on additional layers of meaning. When they faced challenges, a career setback for Alex, the illness of Jamie's father, they would sometimes pause in front of that image, a reminder of the joy they created together even in unexpected moments. When they made the decision to start a family, the photograph became a visual representation of the home environment they wanted to create, one filled with authentic emotion and unconditional support. Visitors to their home often commented on the image, drawn to the palpable joy it captured. "That's from our wedding," they would explain, before sharing the story of the cousins' awkward toast and the laughter that followed. Taylor's career as a photographer continued to flourish, their work featured in wedding publications and LGBTQ+ media. Occasionally, they would use Alex and Jamie's laughing photograph in their portfolio, with permission, of course, and it consistently generated the most emotional responses from potential clients. "That's what we want," couples would say. That feeling. The image became something of a signature piece for Taylor, representing their philosophy about capturing authentic moments rather than posed perfection. Let me explain why this matters beyond just one couple's wedding day. In a world where LGBTQ+ relationships have historically been either invisible or sensationalized, images like the one Taylor captured serve a profound purpose. They show the ordinariness and extraordinariness of queer love, that it contains the same joy, support, and partnership as any other loving relationship, while also acknowledging the unique journey many LGBTQ+ couples navigate to claim their place in traditions like marriage. The photograph became not just a personal keepsake but a small piece of cultural representation, showing a same-sex couple experiencing pure, uninhibited joy on their wedding day. For Alex and Jamie, the photograph serves as both memory and roadmap. It reminds us of who we are at our best, Alex explained on their 5th anniversary. "When things get complicated or we're stressed about work or family stuff, that picture helps us remember to find moments of joy together." Jamie agreed, adding, "It's also about vulnerability. We're completely unself-conscious in that moment, totally present with each other. That's something we try to bring into our relationship every day." Their story speaks to something universal about love and partnership, that often, it's not the carefully orchestrated moments that define a relationship, but rather those unexpected instances of connection. The cousins' awkward toast could have been a minor wedding mishap, forgotten among the more traditional highlights of the day. Instead, because of how Alex and Jamie responded together, and because Taylor was there to capture it, it became the visual representation of their bond. As the years passed, the photograph remained in its prominent position in their home, witnessing the evolution of their lives together. When they eventually became parents, adopting a child who brought new dimensions of both challenge and joy to their lives, the photograph took on yet another layer of meaning. They would tell their child the story behind the image, emphasizing that families are built on finding laughter together even when things don't go as planned. The child grew up seeing this visual representation of joy as a normal part of their home environment, understanding intuitively that love expresses itself in moments of unguarded emotion. For couples planning their own weddings, especially those in the LGBTQ+ community, Alex and Jamie's story offers several valuable insights. First, the importance of finding vendors who see and respect your unique relationship, rather than trying to fit you into traditional molds. Taylor's approach to photography, focusing on authentic moments rather than posed perfection, allowed them to capture the essence of Alex and Jamie's relationship. Second, their experience highlights the value of embracing unexpected moments rather than clinging too tightly to plans. Some of the most meaningful aspects of their celebration weren't part of their careful preparations but emerged organically from the joy of the day. Perhaps most importantly, their story reminds us that wedding days are not isolated events but rather foundations for the life couples build together. The laughing photograph became meaningful not just because it was beautiful or captured a happy moment, but because it reflected something essential about their relationship that continued to guide them through the years that followed. It became a visual anchor for their values as a couple, finding joy together, supporting each other through awkward moments, facing the world as a united team. For those of us witnessing others' love stories, there's a reminder here too, about what to celebrate and affirm in the relationships around us. Not just the milestone moments or the picture-perfect presentations, but the authentic connections that allow people to be fully themselves together. The cousins' awkward toast could have been remembered as a wedding day mishap, but instead, because of Alex and Jamie's response, it became one of the most meaningful moments of their celebration. As we think about our own relationships, romantic, familial, or friendships, we might ask ourselves, what are the laughing photograph moments in our connections with others? Those instances where joy overcomes self-consciousness, where we're fully present with another person, where the unexpected becomes meaningful because of how we experience it together. These moments, often unplanned and sometimes emerging from imperfection, frequently reveal the true character of our bonds with others. Alex and Jamie continue to build their life together, the framed photograph watching over their evolving story. They faced challenges, celebrated triumphs, and navigated the ordinary days that make up most of a life together. Through it all, they've tried to maintain the spirit captured in that wedding day image, finding joy together, supporting each other through whatever comes their way, remaining present in moments both significant and small. Their wedding photographer didn't just snap a picture of them laughing. They captured a philosophy about love that continues to frame their future, one day at a time. For anyone building a life with someone else, there's wisdom in their approach. Look for the laughter, even in imperfect moments. Create space for authentic emotion. Remember that the most meaningful connections often happen when we're not posing for the camera but simply being ourselves with the people we love. And perhaps most importantly, recognize that the most powerful images of love aren't static but evolve with us, taking on new meanings as our stories continue to unfold. Just like Alex and Jamie's laughing photograph, framing not just a moment from their past, but the ongoing journey of their future together. Total_char_count, 17,632.